Hello everybody, Stephen here, and today we're going to be covering everything about buyer's agents. So if you're a first time investor or looking to purchase interstate for the first time, then stick around because this video is for you. So I'll be splitting this video up into 6 different sections and I'll be leaving timestamps in the description below. So if you want to skip to a particular section, then be my guest and feel free to go right ahead. So without further ado, let's begin. So you may be thinking, how much is a buyer's agent actually going to cost? So buyer's agents typically operate under two different fee structures. So number one is the fixed fee, and this is just a flat rate fee which ranges between 10 to 15k. And fee structure number two is a variable fee. So I got this table from a buyer's agent. This is their fee schedule. They're basically like how they operate sort of like a real estate agent. How real estate agent prices vary based on a percentage of the purchase price of the property. When I went with a buyer's agent, I went with one that had a fixed fee and I paid 14.3k. So for point number two is finding a good buyer's agent. So in my journey, I definitely learned a lot and I want to share my learnings and mistakes with you. And I've summarized it into 3 tips that I'm going to give you on how to find a good buyer's agent. So my tip number one is to speak with other investors. So in general, when you're trying to accomplish something, it's really good to speak to somebody who's already done what you're trying to do. So in this case, I just hit up the Property Chat forum. So Property Chat is a forum with property investors from Australia, and you can just ask anything on there. So I just looked up, buyer's agent recommendations and see who people used. And I just DM'd the people and asked them about their experience. And I know it may sound like an uncomfortable step. It definitely was for me, cold approaching strangers online. But I found that people usually are just happy to share their experience and help you out. I even had people, typing up heaps of paragraphs of their experience and giving me words of advice on how to approach things and how the process actually works. And I find this really useful as well because typically I think that hearing people's feedback firsthand, their firsthand account of how their experience was with the buyer's agent is a lot more valuable to me compared to how well a buyer's agent may market themselves. I like to hear the opinions of people who have actually used their service. So tip number two is to speak with a couple of buyer's agents. So after I hit up Property Chat and was reading through forums and asking people about their experiences with certain buyer's agents, I was able to narrow it down to 3 buyer's agents which I liked. So after you come up with your own short list of buyer's agents, then I suggest you set up a consultation chat with them. And buyer's agents they have a free consultation chat where you can chat to them for around 30 minutes just to get to know you, informal chat. And so I sort of looked at it as like an interview process, as if I'm like interviewing them. And the reason I say this is because from a lot of podcasts that I've listened to and a lot of books that I've read on real estate investing, the people always say to treat your real estate investments as a business. And in a business, you have members of your team, and it's no different with a buyer's agent. They're going to be a crucial member of your team. So you definitely want to make sure that you onboard the one that's right for you. So my final tip on trying to find a good buyer's agent for you is to consider the smaller BA firms as well. So why do I say this? So I'll just give you an example of my experience. The buyer's agent that I went with in our initial consultation chat, he said that he just had 20 clients over the past month alone, which is insane. And I was quite impressed. I was thinking, okay, yeah, maybe everybody's going to him because he's the best one out there. But I didn't realize that if he's got 20 clients, it is going to be spread thin across all of them, right? That was something that I didn't really anticipate, unfortunately. So my experience with the buyer's agent was it wasn't too much of a personalized experience. And this was something I was after because I'm more of an active investor. I was going into this hoping that I was gonna, be mentored, and I wanted to participate in the search. I wanted to learn how to do market research and other things as well. But unfortunately, since he's got like a lot more clients, then I wasn't able to get that personalized experience that I was after. And I felt that I'm not getting replies sometimes. And so why do I say to possibly go with a smaller buyer's agent? This logic is sort of similar to why it's good to go with smaller property manager firms as well, because if you go with one that's got like 1 million clients, then they're going to be spread quite thin and you're not going to get a personalized experience. Property managers that I went with my properties are generally smaller firms, and I have definitely got more of a personalized experience, which I'm really happy with. Now, it's going to be a bit more work to go with a smaller firm because you're going to need to do a lot more due diligence on them because they don't have that track record of like the hundreds of Google reviews. So it might be more difficult for you to overcome the hurdle of going with one with fewer reviews. But I can say that if you end up finding the right buyer's agent, then they're going to be worth their weight in gold. I do want to disclaim that I'm not saying that big buyer's agent firms are bad, but if you're a passive investor and you don't really want to spend time learning everything about property because maybe you don't have time on the weekends and after work hours because you want to spend time with your family, then I do think that going with a bigger firm is fine. But if you're an active investor, if you're like me, if you've got more time in your hands and you really want to understand the A to Z and everything about purchasing a property, want to get that personalized experience from the buyer's agent, then I do suggest going with a smaller firm. Okay, so with that being said, let's move on to our next section, which is commencement with the BA. So once you found the buyer's agent that you're happy with, then you're going to begin the chat of what you want and your budget and your goals and where you want to purchase. They're also going to say how long it's going to take until they commence with your property search. The buyer's agent may have, a lot of clients ready and serve them first before they serve you. And in my experience, I waited around 3 to 4 weeks before the buyer's agent was going to start looking for me. So in this commencement stage, my word of advice is to really know what you're after and be very specific to the buyer's agent about what you want and what you don't want. And there's a reason for this, and I'm going to explain it in the next section, which is number 4, the property search. So the buyer's agent's going to present you some properties. In my experience, they show you one property every 1 to 2 weeks. And going back to what I said, it's very important to be very clear to your buyer's agent about what you want and what you don't want. And I'll give you some examples of my experience on why I say this. So when I was looking for a property, I wanted something south of Brisbane. Minimum 400 meters squared, budget 450k, and that's all I told my buyer's agent. So I'll show you a map of Brisbane right here. The first property that he showed me was, it ticked the box. It was south of Brisbane, 450k, but it needed some renovation work. I didn't have any upfront cash for that because I was already maxing out. So I should have said that I wanted a property without renovation needs, and that's something I should have specified. Property number 2, it was technically south, but it was southwest of Brisbane. So it was in Ipswich. This is somewhere which I didn't want to purchase. I wanted to purchase in Logan strictly, and so I should have specified I wanted to purchase only in Logan. And with the third property he offered me, he ticked all the boxes, which was in Logan, 450k, 500 meters squared, but the only thing was it was a new build in a new suburb, and unfortunately that was something that I was not after. And I should have specified that as well, that I wanted an established house in an established suburb already. And so I wasn't clear on that, so I got offered something that wasn't on my criteria. So now my fourth property, finally we got here, Logan, 450k, ticked all the boxes, 500 meters square, and so I was happy to go with that. And so the reason why I say to be very specific on your wants and don't wants is so you don't have to go through all these hurdles. So I went through all these hurdles because I wasn't specific enough of my wants and don't wants, and maybe I could have gone into the market like a month earlier, possibly, if I was more specific on my needs for the property. Okay, so for number 5, we're going to be going over the purchase process. So once you've found the property that you're happy with, then we're going to go ahead and get it inspected. That's something that the buyer's agent is going to organize for you. So typically a member of their team, the property manager, is going to go and inspect the property for you, and you can expect to receive a walkthrough video and 100 photos of the property. And it's extremely useful to get the property manager to do the inspection for you because this is their bread and butter. They do this every day. They see properties every day, so they're going to be able to see details that you don't see. So even if you're going to go and fly there and have a look at the property, they got a better set of eyes to spot things that maybe you won't. So once you've reviewed the photos and the videos, then it's time for you to make a decision on whether or not you want to purchase the property. If you do want to move ahead and get the property, then we're going to go over to making an offer. Now the buyer's agent is going to be able to help you make the right offer, an optimal offer. Now in my experience, this was extremely useful from a first time investor's perspective because I didn't know how to make an offer, as in I didn't want to overpay just to beat all the other investors and all their offers, and I also didn't want to underpay that I'm not even gonna be considered by the seller. So there's a fine line and an optimal balance which I didn't understand, which a buyer's agent could be able to help you because they understand the market very well. Once you made an offer and it's been accepted, then we're going to move on to the due diligence part of this. doing your building and pest, and the buyer's agent's also going to help you negotiate depending on the state you're on. So if you're lucky and your offer got accepted, then we're going to move on to the next part of the process, which is the building and pest. So in the building and pest inspection, you get a whole report on the structure of the building and any damages and things you need to take into consideration, and the buyer's agent may be able to assist you in further negotiations based on this building and pest report, based on the state that you're in. So some states will allow you to negotiate based on the results of the report, some won't. So the buyer's agent's going to know that, and they're going to be able to help you. Now after that, then the buyer's agent's going to help you with the rest of the process, which is getting your property appraised, signing you up with the property manager, getting insurance, all the legal stuff with the solicitor and all of those things. And I find it very useful to go with the buyer's agent because as a first-time investor, you're not going to know all these things, and it can be quite overwhelming. Even with a buyer's agent, it was quite overwhelming for me, seeing all these different parts of the process which I need to try to keep on top of, and having a buyer's agent on your side, holding your hand throughout the whole process A to Z is extremely useful. Okay, now we've come to the end of the video. Point number 6, which is my reflections and my final thoughts and words of advice for you guys. So the biggest lesson that I learned from this whole process was to be very specific on what you want and what you don't want. So for instance, when I wasn't very specific on what I wanted and I didn't want out of a property, then my buyer's agent was showing me these properties which didn't necessarily fit my criteria. And also when I wasn't clear on what I really wanted out of a buyer's agent, what experience and what relationship did I want to have with a buyer's agent, then I got one that didn't really fit my needs. So I definitely do recommend, before diving into property or finding a buyer's agent or anything in general, is to be very clear about what you want and what you don't want. So that brings me to the end of my video. I think I've mentioned everything that I needed to. So if you enjoyed and if you got any value out of it, then please like, comment, subscribe. It will really help out this channel and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.